do?
I don't want to know what you gotta do.
Just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep
Did you know that every time you fill your plastic bags with your grocery items, you're making it hard for our environment, humans, and animals to just keep swimming through life? Plastic bags should be banned from grocery stores because they cause severe damage to our earth, humans, and animals, both wildlife and marine life. After weeks of extensive research on this topic, I'm basically an expert on why plastic is not so fantastic. Now we're going to start off with the damage it causes in our environment. The first place is our oceans. Sailors say that the number one man-made thing that they see when they're sailing through our oceans is plastic bags. Further, every square mile of ocean that there is, about 46,000 to 100,000 pieces of plastic bags are found. The ocean's pretty vast, so for every square mile to be filled like that, that's a lot of plastic bags. So when these plastic bags enter our ocean, they create something called gyres. Gyres are basically these specific areas in the ocean that move in circular currents, and they're filled with millions of pieces of plastic. In this picture, you can see that there are 5 main gyres in our oceans. One is in the Indian Ocean, there's 2 in the Pacific, and 2 in the Atlantic. One major gyre that's being given the most attention right now is the Great Pacific Garbage Patch that's located in the middle here. In these 2 pictures, you can see this is the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. It's pretty huge and it looks horrifying, and it is. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch is basically a huge, horrifying mass of billions and millions of pieces of plastic that are gathering, and it actually just goes deeper the further you go from the surface of the water. Now, it's not only going into our oceans, but it's also polluting our climate in terms of climate change. So when you're making plastic bags, it requires oil and natural gases. Now, when oil and natural gases are put together, they cause greenhouse gases. Greenhouse gases are the reason behind climate change. So basically, the more plastic bags that are being made, the more climate change there is. It's scary because in the US alone, there's 12 million barrels of oil that are used to make billions of plastic bags. And that's a lot of oil and climate change just for plastic bags that are being used for at most 12 minutes. In terms of our land, it's getting worse because we find a lot of these plastic bags in our landfills, in our trees, in our fences, in our parks, and our playgrounds. But it's getting clogged up most in our drainage channels and our sewers in urban areas. So for countries like Bangladesh, when these plastic bags start to clog their drainage and sewage systems, when they get hit with big rainstorms like monsoons, within minutes, their streets are being flooded like crazy, causing an immense amount of damage to the people and the land and environment around them. Though it is important to maintain our environment's health overall, it's also important to maintain our health. But believe it or not, our health is being challenged by plastic bags, and it's getting harder to maintain our health. Now, plastic bags never actually degrade. Instead, they break down into tiny pieces called microplastics. This gets into our food chain, and how it does that is when we dump plastic bags into the ocean, these plastic bags then turn down into microplastics. Those microplastics release toxins. So when animals like fish and shrimp, aka seafood that we eat, end up eating these plastics, the plastics go into their body and they release toxins and chemicals such as PCB and PHAs. Those chemicals are hormone disrupting. So when the fish that we ate ends up eating that plastic bag, they're contaminated with that chemical, and in turn they contaminate us with that chemical. This is pretty scary because scientists don't know how our bodies, like our immune systems, are going to react to these chemicals in the first place. But from the research and the data that they've collected, they're assuming that these particles in microplastics introduce pathogens into our bodies. When these pathogens are introduced, they affect things like the liver, and also when these microplastics go into our digestive system, it makes us hard to absorb like trace elements and vital elements like iron. So iron deficiencies can also be a cause for microplastics in our body. Another really important thing to consider is that dyes in the plastic bags, so whether you get a green plastic bag or a yellow one, when they're being colored, those dyes release their own chemicals separately. So those chemicals alone also cause really serious conditions and harm our organs such as the kidney. And all of these toxins can really cause serious conditions such as cancer anywhere in our bodies, not just our liver, but in our kidneys, but a lot of different organs. It just depends on the person and where that microplastic ends up. Now, though we've found ourselves in harm's way of these plastic bags, animals themselves have found themselves in the direct line of fire when it comes to damages of the plastic bags which are being caused. This happens because a lot of plastic is mistaken for food by both birds, deer, sea turtles, fish. Both wild and marine life mistake plastic for food. For example, plastic floating in the ocean looks like jellyfish. In this picture, you can't really tell if it's plastic or jellyfish. At least I had a hard time distinguishing that. Just for your information, it actually is jellyfish, but I had to look that up. So imagine an animal who can't distinguish that difference. This becomes a problem because jellyfish is a main food source for a lot of species like sea creatures. So when you have sea turtles eating it, or swans, or deer, or squirrels, when they eat that plastic, it causes a lot of harmful physical consequences. So for example, when they're digesting this plastic, it can cause infections, painful intestinal blockage, starvation, and death by suffocation. So many of these animals are dying just by eating this plastic that they thought was food. After a study done in 2013, about 35% of sea turtle deaths were caused by plastic consumption alone, and every year their chances of eating plastic just grows more and more because of how much plastic is being dumped in the ocean in the first place. Wildlife is also affected because about 20 years ago, a pelican was found with about 17 plastic bags filling its stomach. Then in 2008, a crocodile was found in Australia with 25 plastic bags in his stomach. Later that same year, a baby cow had to be put down because he ate about 8 plastic bags alone. So the worst part about this is these poor innocent animals don't know that they're eating something that's going to make them miserable and kill them. They just think it's food. Another thing to consider is that these animals aren't just dying from eating them, but they're also dying from getting tangled in these plastic bags. So as you can see, this sea turtle has gone through something like the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, and when he swam through it, he got tangled in a bunch of plastic bags. As you can see, both his fins from the front and the back on both sides are tangled in this plastic bag, meaning he can't swim the same way. So he's either going to drown, or as you can see, his neck is being tangled as well. So he's either going to die from drowning, or he's going to drown from suffocating and not being able to eat because his airways are being blocked. He's not the only one to suffer from this. You have a lot of dolphins, you have seals, you have birds, you even have cats and dogs getting tangled in these plastic bags. And if they're not dying from suffocating because they can't get out, or they can't fly or swim or eat, then they're getting severely cut from trying to get out of these entanglements in the first place. I believe numbers speak louder than words. So to really put this in place is that 100,000 marine animals alone die from plastic consumption. Also, about 1 million seabirds die from plastic consumption as well. About 2/3 of the world's fish market is suffering from plastic ingestion. And scientists have labeled about 200 areas on Earth as dead zones just because no life organisms can grow from this amount of plastic pollution, meaning no deers, no squirrels, no nothing. So as you can see, from our Earth to our humans to our animals, plastic bags really aren't worth all the damage that they're causing. In conclusion, plastic bags should be banned from grocery stores because they are causing severe damage to our Earth. They're causing serious conditions like cancers to humans, and they're killing off all our wild and marine life. However, it's not too late to turn the tide. The solution comes in the form of reusable grocery bags. Now, reusable grocery bags are great because they're durable and they're big. They last a very long time. You can easily get them on Amazon for cheap and get them the next day. This is really great because you can easily get a reusable grocery bag, fold it up, put it on the counter, and right before you leave to go grocery shopping, you grab it. It holds a lot and it's durable. For one reusable bag, the shelf life is about at least 4 years. So in 4 years, you can save yourself from using 600 plastic bags. 600 times the billions of people on Earth makes a huge difference from the millions of plastic that's being dumped in the ocean to begin with. This is a really great thing, and it's such an easy solution. And after seeing how much damage and pain and suffering is being caused on our Earth, to us and our poor animals, is that really worth all the damage? So the next time you go to a grocery store, which one are you going to pick up? A plastic bag or a reusable bag? Thank you.